Hello there and welcome. Tonight we are going to explore something truly beautiful. We are going to walk through forests. Not the forests you might rush past during the day, but the deeper truth of what they really are. Forests are not just groups of trees standing together. They are living worlds that breathe and grow and change everything around them. Some forests are so big they actually make their own weather. Some trees have been alive since before the Great Pyramids were even built. And under the ground, hidden networks let trees talk to each other in ways we are only beginning to understand. In the Amazon, more kinds of living things share space than anywhere else on our entire planet. In the cold northern forests that stretch across the top of the world, trees hold more carbon than all the oil we have ever found beneath the earth. And in the misty cloud forests high in the mountains, water comes straight from the sky into the leaves without ever falling as rain. Forests are old. They are powerful, and they are full of surprises we never expected. Tonight, we will discover 100 quiet truths about them. We will learn how they shape our air and our water. We will see how they connect to animals and to us. We will find out about the secret lives they live beneath our feet and high above our heads. If you enjoy taking these calm journeys with me, I would love it if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, or maybe leave a few words in the comments about what you think. It really helps other people find this place too, one sleepy person at a time. You can just be here. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Let your jaw relax. Let your hands rest wherever they are most comfortable. Take a breath in through your nose if you can. Let it out slowly. And again. Feel your body getting a little bit heavier with each breath, a little bit more settled into wherever you are resting. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the edge of a forest just as the sun is setting. You can hear birds settling down for the night. You can smell the earth and the leaves. The air is cool and clean. Everything feels peaceful here. Everything feels safe. Now, if you are ready, let us walk together into these woods. Let us discover what forests have been hiding all this time. Let us learn their secrets one by one, moving slowly and calmly through the evening. There is no rush. We have all the time we need. Let us begin. The facts. Fact 1. The biggest living thing on Earth is actually a fungus hidden in a forest. Beneath the ground in the Blue Mountains of Oregon, something huge is growing. It does not look special from above. You would just see regular forest floor covered with trees and fallen leaves. But underneath all of that, the threads of a single fungus spread out through the soil like a giant web. This organism covers nearly 4 square miles. Scientists think it has been alive for thousands of years. Most of the fungus lives underground as tiny threads called mycelium. Sometimes mushrooms pop up above the ground. But the real body of the fungus is that hidden network beneath everything. What makes this so amazing is not just how big it is, but how quietly it has been growing there. Year after year, it spreads slowly through the forest floor, connecting to tree roots and feeding on them. It is bigger than any whale. It is bigger than any single tree or coral reef. And it reminds us that some of the most impressive life on Earth is completely hidden from view. Fact 2. 1 out of every 10 species on Earth lives in the Amazon rainforest. The Amazon is often called the crown jewel of all the ecosystems on our planet, and there is a very good reason for that. Inside this massive green space that spreads across 9 different countries, an incredible amount of life exists. Scientists have figured out that 1 in every 10 species known to science makes its home somewhere in the Amazon. That means millions of plants, animals, insects, and fungi all share the space under those tall trees. Jaguars walk quietly on the forest floor while pink river dolphins swim through the winding water channels. Whole communities of ants actually grow their own gardens of fungus underground. Scientists think there are still thousands or maybe even millions of species in the Amazon that we have not discovered yet. The forest is not just diverse. It is packed with life at every level, from the dark soil all the way up to the highest leaves touched by Sunday. To walk through it would be like stepping into a living encyclopedia of our planet, with every page showing something new. Fact 3. The northern forests hold twice as much carbon as all the oil in the world. The boreal forest stretches like a green crown across the very top of our planet. It runs through Canada, Russia, and Scandinavia. This forest might not be as famous as the Amazon, but it has a kind of power that affects the entire world. Under that huge carpet of spruce trees, pine trees, and larch trees lies an enormous amount of stored carbon. Most of it sits locked away in the soil and in wetlands, kept safe in cold layers of moss and peat that decay very slowly. Scientists have calculated that the boreal forest holds almost twice as much carbon as all the known oil reserves on Earth combined. This means the boreal forest acts like a giant brake on climate change. It quietly takes in carbon and stores it for hundreds of years. But temperatures are getting warmer, and this is starting to thaw the frozen ground called permafrost. If that happens, the buried carbon could get released back into the air. The boreal forest is like a vault, and whether Earth's climate stays stable depends partly on keeping that vault sealed tight. Fact 4. The Amazon rainforest actually makes its own rain. When most people think about rainforests, they imagine storms rolling in from faraway oceans. But the Amazon does something different. It does not just receive rain, it creates its own. Every single day, huge numbers of trees lift water up from the soil and release it into the air through tiny holes in their leaves. This invisible mist rises up into the sky, where it forms thick clouds. Those clouds then drift and break apart into rain. Scientists call this process evapotranspiration. In the Amazon, it creates what they describe as an atmospheric river. The water cycles over and over again above the forest. A single large tree can release hundreds of gallons of water in just one day. Without this cycle happening, the forest would dry out and die. But with it, the Amazon keeps its own weather going, making thunderstorms, feeding rivers, and even sending moisture thousands of miles away to places like the Midwest of the United States. It is like a self-powered engine of life. The forest drinks water from the ground and rains it back down in the same breath. Fact 5. Trees talk to each other through hidden networks made of fungus. Under the soil, in almost every forest on Earth, there is a communication system we cannot see. Threads of fungi connect tree roots together in a huge web that spreads everywhere. Scientists sometimes call it the wood wide web because it lets trees share signals and even resources with each other. Through these fungal networks, a small tree growing in the shade might get nutrients from a bigger, healthier tree nearby. A tree that is being attacked by insects might send out chemical warnings through the network. This makes other trees nearby boost their defenses before the insects even reach them. They channel energy down into younger baby trees through this hidden system underground. It is not communication the way humans talk, but it is cooperation happening molecule by molecule beneath the ground where we cannot see it. What looks like a quiet forest is actually full of exchanges. They happen not through sound or sight, but through sugars, chemicals, and fungal threads passing information back and forth. The forest is far more alive and far more connected than it seems from above. Fact 6. The oldest trees began growing before the pyramids in Egypt were built. High in the mountains of California and Nevada, above the desert floor, there are trees so old that their lives stretch back into the very beginning of human history. These are bristlecone pine trees. They look twisted and weathered from centuries of wind and snow, but they are the oldest living individual organisms on the entire planet. Some of them are almost 5,000 years old. That means they were already old when the first pyramids were being built in ancient Egypt. They have stood there through the rise and fall of entire civilizations. They have survived droughts and fires and freezing winters. Their secret is not growing fast. Their secret is growing slowly. They grow so gradually that even after thousands of years, many of them are no taller than a house in the suburbs. Their wood is very dense and full of resin, which helps protect them from rotting. When you look at a bristlecone pine, you are looking at a living being that has lasted through nearly all of recorded human history. It reminds us that time moves very differently for trees than it does for people. Fact 7. The Amazon might be getting close to a point where it collapses. For all its size and strength, the Amazon is actually fragile. Scientists are warning that it might be getting close to a dangerous tipping point. As more trees get cut down and as climate change makes the air drier, the rainforest could start to shift into something more like a savanna. This would mean fewer trees, less rain, and a breakdown of all the cycles that keep the forest alive. Already some parts of the Amazon now put out more carbon than they take in. This is the opposite of what the forest used to do. If the forest tips past this point, billions of tons of stored carbon could flood into the air. This would speed up global warming even more. At the same time, countless species would lose their homes. The collapse of the Amazon would not just change South America, it would send effects through the entire planet's climate system. It reminds us that even the most powerful ecosystems depend on delicate balances, and those balances can be pushed too far. Fact 8. The Congo rainforest holds more carbon than the United States releases in 10 years. The Congo rainforest is the second largest rainforest on Earth after the Amazon, but many people do not talk about it as much. Still, its role in keeping the planet stable is huge. Underneath its green canopy is one of the biggest carbon storage systems on Earth. The forest itself, along with the huge peatlands around it, stores more than 80 billion tons of carbon. To help you picture that, it is more than the entire United States puts out in 10 years of burning oil, gas and coal. Much of this carbon is buried in wet peat soils, where there is not enough oxygen for it to break down quickly. But rising temperatures and human activity could unlock this storage. Scientists warn that if these peatlands dry out, the release of carbon would be terrible for the climate. For now, though, the Congo stands as one of Earth's most powerful protectors. It is a green fortress quietly holding back the rise of climate change. Fact 9. The tallest trees on Earth reach higher than a football field is long. If you stand at the bottom of a coastal redwood tree in California and look up, the tree just keeps going and going. These giant trees are the tallest living organisms on the planet. Some of them are over 370 feet tall. To picture how tall that is, imagine a football field standing straight up in the air. The tree goes even higher than that. Their tops sway in winds that no human on the ground can feel. Entire ecosystems live in their upper branches, including ferns, mosses, and even small salamanders. The redwoods grow in groves along the Pacific coast where fog rolls in from the ocean. They actually drink moisture directly from the air. Even though they are so big, they're also fragile. They can only survive in a narrow band of climate. But they remind us of nature's ability to reach for the sky. They stretch toward the clouds in a way that is unmatched anywhere else on Earth. Fact 10. Redwoods can live for more than 2,000 years. The redwoods are not just the tallest trees, they are also among the longest living. Some individual trees have been standing for more than 2,000 years. They have silently watched centuries of human history go by. Their bark is thick and fibrous, which helps them resist both insects and fire. When fires do come through the forest, the flames often clear away other plants while leaving the redwood standing. Their roots are surprisingly shallow, but they twist together with the roots of trees nearby, binding the whole forest together into a shared network of support. In this way, a grove of redwoods becomes more than just separate trees. It becomes a single ancient community. Walking among them feels like stepping into a living cathedral. The pillars rise into the mist, and time feels like it stretches beyond anything we can fully understand. They show us that endurance itself can be a kind of strength written in rings and centuries. Fact 11. Cloud forests drink water straight from the sky. High in the mountains, where thick mist rolls over the treetops, there are forests that are different from any others. Cloud forests are covered in fog almost all the time. The trees there have learned how to capture water right out of the air. Their leaves and the mossy branches act like combs. They catch moisture from the drifting clouds and turn the mist into droplets. Those droplets drip steadily down to the forest floor. In this way, the trees drink from the sky even when no rain is falling. This special ability lets cloud forests grow in places where rainfall alone would not be enough. The water they catch often feeds rivers and streams that flow down into the valleys below. This supports both the ecosystems and the human communities living there. To walk through a cloud forest is to be inside a living cloud. Every surface is covered in water. Everything glistens and drips. The air itself feels like part of the forest's hidden heartbeat. Fact 12. Some forests glow at night because of tiny mushrooms. If you step into certain forests after dark, you might see something magical. Tiny mushrooms scattered on rotting logs give off a soft green light. This glowing is called bioluminescence. It happens because of chemical reactions inside the fungi. Scientists think the glow attracts insects, which then help spread the spores so the fungi can reproduce. It turns the forest floor into something that looks like stars scattered on the earth. Fireflies add to the effect too, flashing among the branches like sparks of light. For hundreds of years, people have described these glowing forests as enchanted or magical. Today, scientists study the exact chemistry that makes the light happen, but they are still learning why some species evolved this ability while most others did not. To the human eye, it feels like pure magic. It is a hidden electricity that comes alive in the darkness, reminding us that even when the sun sets, forests have their own ways of shining. Fact 13. Some forests burn regularly as part of staying healthy. It might seem like fire only destroys forests, but actually, fire is a natural and necessary part of how many forests work. In places like the pine forests of North America or the eucalyptus forests of Australia, fires sweep through every few years. These flames clear away dead plants on the ground. They recycle nutrients back into the soil. They even make certain trees release their seeds. Without fire, these forests would actually struggle. Pine trees, for example, have cones that are sealed shut with resin. The cones only open when they are heated by flames. After a fire passes through, the soil is rich with ash. This creates perfect conditions for new plants to grow. Animals have adapted to this cycle too. Some birds even follow the smoke to hunt insects that are fleeing from the fire. Of course, when humans interfere with this natural cycle by cutting trees or stopping fires, the fires can grow unnaturally large and dangerous. But in their natural rhythm, forest fires are not really endings. They are resets. They are a way for the ecosystem to breathe, renew itself, and start fresh. Fact 14. Fire can actually make seeds start growing. After a fire passes through a forest, the soil might look completely dead. Everything is black and covered with ash. But hidden under that ash are seeds that have been waiting, sometimes for many years, for fire to come. Certain plants like the lodgepole pine or the banksia trees in Australia have very tough seed coatings. These coatings only break open when they are heated intensely. Other seeds respond to chemicals in smoke. The smoke acts like a signal that tells them conditions are finally right to start growing. The result is that just a few weeks after a fire, the forest floor can burst into green. It gets covered with baby plants that could not have grown otherwise. Fire then is not only something that destroys, it is also something that wakes up new life. It clears space, lets sunlight hit the ground, and activates a whole new generation of growth. The forest's cycle of life and death is actually written in flame. Fact 15. Some trees can survive being hit by lightning. When lightning tears through a forest, the crack and flash can be terrifying. Trees often get struck because they are the tallest things around. Many trees split or burn when this happens. But some survive. Whether a tree survives depends on its bark, how much moisture it has inside, and how it is built. A tree with thick bark that insulates well can let the electricity travel down its outer layers. This protects the living tissue inside. It lets the lightning pass through quickly without destroying the core of the tree. What is really amazing is that some trees actually heal around their scars. The burned grooves left by lightning become permanent marks in the bark. Over the years, these scars can spiral upward like black ribbons. They become silent records of storms. The tree survived. For the forest, trees that can endure lightning strikes are proof of resilience. Fact 16. In the coldest forests, trees can explode from extreme cold. The taiga is Earth's largest forest. It sweeps across Siberia, Canada, and Scandinavia. Winters there get brutally cold, sometimes dropping below -60 degrees Fahrenheit. In cold that extreme, even trees can suffer in ways that are hard to imagine. The sap inside trees is full of water. When it freezes very quickly, it expands faster than the tree can handle. The result is a sudden rupture. It makes a sound like a gunshot as the trunk splits open. In rare cases, parts of the tree can even burst outward. This is where people get the description that trees explode in the cold. Most trees have ways to protect themselves from freezing. They have chemicals in their tissues that work like antifreeze. But these protections are not always enough. The exploding trees of the taiga remind us just how harsh this environment is. Survival there pushes every living thing to its absolute limits in the battle against cold. Fact 17. Some forest fires burn underground for years. Not all fires disappear when the flames die down above ground. In certain forests, especially in areas with soil that is rich in peat, fires can keep burning underground long after the surface looks calm. These are sometimes called zombie fires. They can last for months or even years, creeping slowly through layers of carbon-rich peat. They might come back above ground long after people think the wildfire season is over. Some scientists think these underground fires even survive through the winter, buried under snow. Then they pop back up in the spring. These hidden fires release huge amounts of carbon into the air. They are also very hard to put out because water rarely goes deep enough to reach them. The smell of smoke can hang in the air for miles, confusing people who do not see any visible flames. They are fires that never quite die. They are quiet reminders of how forests can hold on to both life and destruction far longer than we expect. Fact 18. Forests can actually create their own lightning. Forests do not just have to endure lightning, they can also help make it. As water vapor rises from leaves into the air, it feeds storm clouds forming above. Inside those clouds, tiny pieces of ice and water crash into each other. This builds up electrical charges. Dense, humid forests like the Amazon are especially good at feeding these storms. They release massive amounts of moisture into the air every single day. The result is frequent lightning strikes. Sometimes, thousands of strikes happen in a single night across the forest. Some studies even suggest that tiny particles released by trees might affect how storm clouds form and behave. In this way, forests are not just sitting there waiting for lightning to hit them. They are actually active players in creating the conditions that make lightning happen. Each flash across the sky and each crack of thunder can be traced back partly to the slow, steady work of countless leaves breathing moisture upward. Fact 19. Some forests stayed green even during the ice ages. During the Great Ice Ages, when huge sheets of ice covered much of the northern part of the world, it might seem like forests would have disappeared completely. In regions that were protected from the worst cold, small isolated groves of evergreen trees managed to keep growing even as ice pressed down from the poles. These areas are called refugia. They became safe places of green in an otherwise frozen landscape. Today, scientists study the genetics of trees to find clues about these ancient refugia. The studies show family lines that go back tens of thousands of years. The fact that these forests kept going is why we still have so many species today. Without them, much of Earth's tree life might have vanished forever. They are proof that even in the harshest times in history, life finds cracks to hold on. Fact 20. There are fossilized forests buried under the ice in Antarctica. Antarctica is now a place of ice and snow, and almost nothing else. But it was not always this way. Over 200 million years ago, before the continent drifted into its frozen isolation, it was much closer to the equator. Back then, it was covered in tall forests. Fossil evidence shows stumps, roots, and even whole tree trunks that turned to stone over time. These forests had to endure months of complete darkness each winter and then constant daylight each summer. Today, scientists drill into the rocks of Antarctica and pull up pieces of this lost world. They find impressions of leaves, fossilized wood, and traces of ancient soil. These discoveries show us how much Earth's climate and its continents have changed over time. To imagine forests where only ice exists now is to see a planet that is always in motion. It reshapes itself across millions of years. Even the coldest and emptiest places once were filled with green life. Fact 21. The Amazon River once flowed backwards, and this changed its forest forever. Today, the Amazon River flows east into the Atlantic Ocean. It carries more water than any other river on Earth. But millions of years ago, it actually flowed in the opposite direction. It flowed west into what is now the Pacific Ocean. Then, huge geological forces reshaped South America. The Andes Mountains started to rise and blocked the river's path. Over a long time, the flow of the Amazon reversed. This created new floodplains and shifted entire ecosystems. It changed how sediments and nutrients moved through the landscape. The reversal transformed the soil that would later feed one of the richest ecosystems on the planet. It also created new habitats where countless species began to evolve in new ways. Without that huge shift in the river's direction, the Amazon rainforest as we know it today would not exist. It reminds us that even the mightiest rivers are not fixed. They bend to the deeper rhythms of the planet, and their changes can give birth to entire worlds of life. Fact 22. In some forests, rain never actually reaches the ground. In certain rainforests, the canopy of leaves and branches above is so thick that rainfall almost never touches the soil below. Instead, the upper layers capture nearly all of it. They get all their moisture from the rain that gets caught up there. For smaller animals, this high canopy becomes a complete home in itself. It has streams and pools and tiny habitats that never touch the forest floor. Scientists who climb up into these upper levels often say it feels like stepping into a completely different ecosystem. It is like a hidden continent that floats above the main forest. Down below on the ground, the soil can actually stay dry for days even while storms rage up above. These forests prove that rain does not always fall all the way down. Fact 23. Rainforests can make their own thunderstorms. Thunder that rolls over a rainforest does not always come from weather systems far away. In places like the Amazon, the forest itself actually creates the storms. Through evapotranspiration, trees release huge amounts of water vapor into the sky. This rising moisture forms thick clouds. The clouds grow heavy and unstable. By afternoon, the build-up often triggers thunderstorms, complete with lightning and loud booming skies. These storms are part of a cycle. The rain they bring feeds the trees. Then the trees release more vapor. This keeps the whole pattern alive. The scale is incredible. The Amazon alone pumps billions of tons of water into the air every single year. That is enough to keep its own weather system running. In this way, the rainforest does not just receive climate, it makes climate. It cools up its own storms from the air and reminds us that forests can actually command the skies. Fact 24. Forests can create their own winds. Wind is usually thought of as a global force shaped by oceans and the movement of air around the planet. But forests, especially really big ones, can actually create their own winds. As the sun warms the canopy, hot air rises above it. This pulls cooler air from the areas around the forest inward. This creates small but steady breezes that move within and around the forest. In massive rainforests like the Amazon, these winds can even grow large enough to influence the weather in the whole region. Leaves also play a part. Their rough surfaces slow down air that passes over them. This creates turbulence that mixes and stirs the air. The result is a forest that does not just sit beneath the weather. It actively shapes the weather. It sculpts the movement of air itself. If you stand in a clearing in the forest, you might feel it. A gentle breath that is not born from the sea or the sky. It is born from the living machinery of leaves and trunks all around you. Fact 25. Tropical forests breathe out huge rivers of water vapor. Forests do not just breathe oxygen and carbon dioxide, they also breathe water. Each day, a single large tropical tree can release hundreds of gallons of water vapor into the air. Now multiply that by billions of trees. What you get are atmospheric rivers flowing invisibly above the canopy. In the Amazon, these vapor streams are so huge they can stretch for thousands of miles. They carry moisture far beyond the forest itself. They help drive rainfall across South America. They even influence weather in places very far away. This process is absolutely vital for farming and climate stability in regions outside the forest. Scientists sometimes describe the Amazon as a giant humidifier. It pumps life-giving water into the sky. The trees are rooted in the ground, but they also reach into the air. They blur the line between earth and atmosphere. Their breath, even though we cannot see it, is one of the most powerful forces on the planet. Fact 26. Certain forests release tiny particles that help make distant clouds. When forests release water vapor into the air, they also send out tiny particles called aerosols. These come from plant chemicals, soil organisms, and even tiny living things drifting on the breeze. Up in the sky, these aerosols act like seeds. Water droplets gather around them to form clouds. Some of these clouds may drift thousands of miles away before they finally drop their rain. In this sense, a forest's breath can help bring water to lands on completely different continents. For example, aerosols from the Amazon have been traced all the way across the Atlantic Ocean where they help make rain. Scientists are still studying the exact chemistry of how this works. But the basic idea is clear. Forests reach far beyond their borders. They do not just make rain for themselves. They play a role in the water cycle of the entire world. Cloud by cloud and drop by drop, they link distant places through invisible threads of air. Fact 27. The smell of pine trees comes from chemicals that cool the climate. That sharp, refreshing scent you smell when you walk through pine trees is not just pleasant. It is actually chemistry at work. Pine trees release organic compounds called terpenes. These are what give the forest its distinct smell. But these molecules do more than just smell nice. Once they get released into the air, terpenes can react with sunlight and other chemicals. This creates tiny particles that affect how clouds form. By changing the way sunlight interacts with the atmosphere, they can even help cool the climate a little bit. In this way, the familiar smell of pine is connected to processes that affect the skies above. To breathe it in is to take part in a cycle that stretches from the soil all the way to the atmosphere. It goes from the comfort of a forest walk to the huge balance of Earth's climate system. It reminds us that even scents can shape the world. Fact 28. Forests cool entire regions by several degrees. Step into a forest on a hot summer day and you feel the difference right away. Shade is part of why it feels cooler. But forests cool the air in much deeper ways than just blocking sunlight. Through transpiration, trees release water vapor. As that vapor evaporates, it absorbs heat from the air around it. This natural air conditioning can lower temperatures in the area by several degrees. It creates microclimates that are important for plants, animals, and humans. On a larger scale, huge forests like the Amazon cool entire regions. They influence weather systems and help keep climates stable. Cities that are surrounded by forest often stay cooler than cities next to empty land. In a warming world, these cooling effects become more than just pleasant, they're essential. Forests act like natural thermostats. They regulate heat through their quiet, constant processes. Each leaf that rustles contributes to the balance. Forests are not only green places to rest, they are living machines that help ease the planet's fever. Fact 29. Forests help keep the polar ice frozen. It might seem strange to connect tropical forests with the icy poles, but Earth's systems are deeply tied together. Moisture and heat released from forests influence how air circulates across entire hemispheres. These patterns affect how stable polar ice remains. Forests also store huge amounts of carbon. This keeps greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere. Without this service, the polar regions would warm much faster. Ice would melt more quickly. Even the cold northern forests close to the Arctic play a direct role. They insulate the frozen ground and shade the snow. The fate of the poles is tied to the fate of the forests. What happens in the green belts of Earth sends effects all the way to the frozen edges. Protecting forests helps protect ice, and by extension, it protects the oceans and coasts everywhere. The world is a web. Tug one strand and even the poles themselves can feel it. Fact 30. Forests shape global wind patterns. Forests do not simply stand still beneath the atmosphere. They actively shape how air moves. As forests pump water vapor upward, they create differences in pressure. It is thought to help pull moist air inland from the oceans. Without it, many areas in the middle of continents might dry out and turn into deserts. Studies suggest that forests influence air circulation not just locally, but globally. They can alter jet streams and change the paths of storms. In this way, the swaying of leaves in one place can create effects in weather thousands of miles away. Winds that bring rain to farmlands or steer storms across oceans may owe part of their path to the silent work of trees. It is one of the clearest signs that forests are not passengers in Earth's climate. Fact 31. Some trees release chemicals that affect human moods. If you have ever felt calm while walking among pine trees, there may be more than imagination involved. Many trees release airborne chemicals called phytoncides. These are natural compounds that help protect trees from insects and disease. When humans breathe these in, studies show they can lower stress hormones. They can reduce blood pressure. They can even boost immune activity. This is one reason why forest bathing, a practice that started in Japan, has become a recommended form of therapy. Breathing in the scents of cedar, pine, or cypress is not just pleasant. It carries a kind of medicine. Trees defending themselves end up helping us feel better. The connection hints at how deeply human biology is still tied to the environments we evolved in. Forests are not just scenery. They are quiet partners in our health. Fact 32. Forest sounds can lower human stress hormones. Close your eyes in a forest and sound takes over your attention. Wind brushing through leaves, birds calling, insects buzzing, water dripping from branches. Research shows that these natural sounds can measurably reduce cortisol. Unlike the unpredictable noise of traffic or machines, forest sounds are patterned and rhythmic. The brain reads them as safe. This calming effect helps slow heart rate. It deepens breathing. It shifts the nervous system into a more relaxed state. Some hospitals even play recordings of forest sounds to help patients recover. Urban planners study how adding natural sounds to cities might bring similar benefits, but nothing compares to the real thing. The full layered chorus of a living forest. Listening to it feels like resetting your mind. It reminds us that the simplest medicine can be found not in silence but in the voices of trees and the lives around them. Fact 33. Forests can change the colour of the atmosphere. On a hazy summer afternoon, you might notice a bluish tint over the horizon when you look across a big forest. That glow is not an illusion. It is the atmosphere being painted by trees. Forests, especially those full of pine trees, release organic compounds. These compounds scatter sunlight in specific ways. The scattering changes the colour of the air. It gives it a faint blue appearance. This effect is so strong in the Appalachian Mountains that they are nicknamed the Blue Ridge. What you are seeing is not just distance or haze. You're seeing the breath of trees changing how light bends and spreads. It means that forests literally tint the air around them. They change the way we see landscapes. Every shimmering ridge and every misty horizon is shaped not just by rock and sky, but by countless leaves releasing invisible chemicals into the air. Fact 34. The nighttime forest sky can glow with invisible energy. Step into a forest at night and the darkness might feel complete. But above the canopy, the sky can glow faintly. Not with visible light, but with energy invisible to the human eye. Earth's atmosphere naturally gives off faint bands of energy called air glow. This is caused by chemical reactions high above. Forest regions often have less light pollution. This makes the glow easier to detect with special instruments. To certain creatures, like some insects and animals that are active at night, these faint emissions might actually be visible. They might shape how these creatures move and behave. In this way, the night sky above a forest is never truly dark. It hums quietly with energy. It is a hidden glow that our eyes cannot see. For humans, it adds another layer of mystery to nights in the woods. Even in darkness, there is light flowing overhead just beyond what we can perceive. Fact 35. Forest air is filled with microscopic particles from trees. Every breath you take in a forest is filled with more than just oxygen. The air is thick with microscopic particles released by trees. There are droplets of water vapor. There are fragments of organic compounds. There are even spores and pollen. These particles act like invisible messengers of the forest. They drift upward to help shape clouds. They drift downward to settle into the soil. Some particles even serve as seeds for raindrops. This means the very air above a forest helps decide when and where it rains. For humans, breathing this air can feel fresher and lighter than city air. Part of the reason is these natural particles. They help clean pollution. They give forests their distinct fresh scent. To breathe forest air is to take in more than just molecules of oxygen. It is to join the living cycle of particles, chemistry, and biology that make the forest a system far bigger than just the trees. Fact 36. A single teaspoon of forest soil contains billions of organisms. Beneath the carpet of leaves and moss is a universe so small we rarely think about it. Scoop up a teaspoon of forest soil. You are holding billions of microscopic organisms. Bacteria, fungi, protozoa, tiny worms called nematodes. They all live in the damp darkness. They break down dead material. They recycle nutrients. Many of these microbes are unknown to science. Their jobs are still a mystery. They defend roots against disease. Without them, the tall canopy above would collapse. In a way, a forest's greatest diversity is not in the birds overhead or the mammals on the floor. It is in the unseen world beneath our feet. Every step across the soil is a step across an invisible galaxy of life. It is buzzing with activity too small to see, but essential for everything we can. Fact 37. The forest floor breathes carbon in daily rhythms. Forests do not just breathe across seasons, they breathe in daily cycles. At night, when sunlight stops, the soil and roots release carbon dioxide. This rhythm happens so reliably that scientists can actually measure the time of day in a forest just by checking carbon levels. In a sense, the entire ecosystem keeps a heartbeat tied to the Sunday. Each day is marked by pulses of breath. These daily shifts remind us that forests are not still backdrops. They are living systems that are always moving. The quiet breathing of soil and leaves is unseen but constant. It is the soundless rhythm that underlies every rustle, call, and flicker of light beneath the canopy. Fact 38. Insects may outnumber leaves in some forests. Leaves seem endless in a forest. They carpet the canopy and cover the ground. But in some tropical forests, insects actually outnumber them. Ants march in armies of millions. Termites build huge mounds. Beetles of every shape and colour crawl across bark and soil. Scientists estimate that a single hectare of rainforest can contain over 40,000 species of insects. The number of individual insects is countless. They hide in every layer of the ecosystem. Many have not even been named or studied yet. This huge number of insects is not just background noise. They pollinate plants. They recycle nutrients. They serve as food for countless other animals. Without insects, the forest would fall apart. Their sheer numbers make them the true foundation of life. They are more numerous than leaves. They buzz and crawl in an unseen flood of motion that holds the whole ecosystem together. Fact 39. Some forest plants trap and eat insects. Forests are not only filled with insects, they are also home to plants that hunt them. Plants like pitcher plants and sundews lure insects with sweet smells or sticky surfaces. Once an insect gets caught, the plant digests it with special chemicals. This gives the plant a boost of nutrients it cannot always get from poor forest soil. In some tropical forests, pitcher plants grow large enough to catch not just flies but frogs and even small mammals. These unusual hunting methods show how competition shapes survival. In the dense, shady understory, where sunlight is limited and soil is poor, plants adapt in strange and surprising ways. To see a plant eating an insect is to see evolution's creativity. It reminds us that even in the quietest corners of the forest, drama unfolds between hunter and prey, between leaf and wing. Fact 40. Forests hold viruses we have never discovered. Deep within forest soils, in pools of water, and even inside the bodies of animals and insects, viruses exist in numbers beyond imagination. Many of these viruses remain unknown to science. Some may play roles in keeping microbial populations balanced. They might be controlling ecosystems in ways we barely understand. Others might one day prove useful. They could carry genetic tools that inspire new medicines or technologies. Forests are reservoirs of genetic diversity. Viruses are part of that hidden archive. While some can cause disease, many exist quietly. They interact with their hosts without causing harm. Studying them is difficult because they often stay dormant or hidden. But the truth is clear. Forests are not only home to tall trees and colourful creatures, they are also home to invisible worlds of life that may shape the future of science. Beneath every leaf and root, unseen forces are at work. Fact 41. The canopy of a rainforest can be as dense as concrete. When you stand in a tropical rainforest, it is easy to feel how much light gets blocked above you. The canopy, which is the layer of branches and leaves high overhead, can be so thick that less than 1% of sunlight reaches the forest floor. Overlapping leaves act like a living ceiling. Scientists have compared its thickness to concrete because water and even falling objects often stop before reaching the ground. This shield protects the understory. It keeps it cooler and more humid than the world above. It also means many plants and animals live their entire lives in the canopy. They never come down to the soil. For them, the treetops are the true forest. It comes complete with rivers of vines, platforms of branches, and a ceiling that is less sky than endless green structure. Fact 42. Forest canopies can hold entire miniature worlds. High above the forest floor, a hidden realm exists. In the canopy, mosses, orchids, and bromeliads cling to branches. They create tiny gardens. These gardens collect water in their leaves. The little pools become homes for frogs, insects, and even small crabs. Bird colonies nest among the branches. Monkeys leap through the treetops. Scientists who climb into these aerial ecosystems often say it feels like stepping onto another planet. The canopy is so vast it doubles the surface area of the forest. It provides layers of habitat stacked above one another like different landscapes. For centuries, this world went unexplored. But modern research has shown it to be one of the most diverse ecosystems on Earth. It reminds us that forests are not flat, they are vertical. They rise into the sky and hold as much life above the ground as they do below. Fact 43. Forest canopies contain more species than the forest floor. It might seem like most life would be at ground level, but in rainforests, the opposite is often true. The canopy holds more species than the forest floor itself. Insects, birds, reptiles, and mammals all find food and shelter in the treetops. Many plants grow only in this layer. They cling to branches and never touch the soil. Scientists believe more than half of all rainforest species may live only in the canopy. Some researchers even call the canopy the real rainforest. It holds the majority of creatures. For the animals and plants that live there, the canopy is a boundless city in the sky. It is busy, crowded, and rich with resources. The ground below is just another distant layer they rarely visit. Fact 44. Forest floors rarely see more than 1% of sunlight. Beneath the tall canopy, the forest floor lies in almost constant shadow. In dense rainforests, only a tiny fraction of sunlight makes it down through the leaves. Often, it is less than 1%. This dimness shapes everything that grows and lives there. Plants have to adapt to very low light. They spread wide leaves to capture whatever sun they can. Some bloom directly on tree trunks, where light filters through gaps. The shadowy environment also makes the floor cooler and more humid. This is perfect for organisms that break things down. Fungi, termites, and beetles recycle fallen material. For many animals, the darkness provides safety from hunters. For others, it is a challenge. They need sharp senses of smell or hearing to survive. The forest floor may feel quiet, but it is alive with motion. It is a shadowed stage where survival depends on thriving without light. Fact 45. Trees in dense forests may never see direct sunlight. In crowded forests, the fight for sunlight is intense. Some trees grow straight and fast. They race to reach the canopy before their neighbors do. Others are less lucky. Entire generations of young trees may grow for decades in the shadow of larger ones. They never once get touched by direct sunlight. Instead, they survive on whatever filtered light trickles through the canopy. What is remarkable is that many of these shade-loving species can wait patiently for years or even centuries. If an older tree falls and a patch of sunlight opens, the waiting tree suddenly shoots upward. It seizes its chance. This patience is built into the life cycle of the forest. It is a constant, quiet contest for light. It means that even a fallen tree is not just an ending. It is an opportunity. It unlocks growth for those that have waited their whole lives for the Sunday. Fact 46. Some forests are so dark they feel like night at noon. In certain rainforests, the canopy is so thick that the forest floor looks like twilight even at midday. Travelers describe these places as dim, hushed, and strange. Shadows stretch endlessly. Colors fade into shades of green and grey. In this near-constant gloom, animals have developed extraordinary ways to survive. Some frogs and insects glow faintly to attract mates. Larger animals rely more on sound than sight to find food and get around. The darkness also keeps temperatures cool and humidity high. This helps things decay very quickly. What feels mysterious to humans is simply normal to the life inside. For the creatures of the deep forest floor, noon and midnight can look nearly the same. Time itself seems slower here. It is hidden under the constant shade of leaves that never fully let the sun in. Fact 47. Some forests contain ancient human structures still hidden. Forests are not only homes to nature, they also hide traces of human history. In the Amazon, special scanning technology has revealed huge ancient cities buried beneath the trees. They come complete with roads, canals, and pyramids. In Cambodia, the ruins of Angkor were long swallowed by jungle before people found them again. Dense forests can hide stone temples, forgotten villages, and lost trade routes for hundreds or even thousands of years. Moss covers carvings until they seem like part of the natural world. For people who study ancient history, forests are both protectors and obstacles. They preserve ruins while keeping them hidden. Each new discovery reminds us that the boundaries between human history and wild nature are not as separate as they seem. Forests are not empty spaces. They are layered with the echoes of civilizations that once lived among the trees. Fact 48. There are entire ecosystems in forest tree hollows. A hollow space in the trunk of an old tree may look like a simple hole, but to countless creatures it is a complete world. Rainwater collects inside. It forms tiny ponds where insects, frogs, and even small crabs live. Birds nest in the sheltered spaces. Bats and squirrels find safe places to rest away from predators. Microbes grow in the damp wood. They recycle nutrients that seep into the water. Each hollow becomes its own self-contained ecosystem. Life balances in miniature. They remind us that forests operate on every scale, from miles of canopy to pockets small enough to fit in your hand. Even the tiniest crack in a tree can pulse with life, a hidden world nested inside a larger one. Fact 49. Bamboo forests can grow taller than buildings in just weeks. Bamboo is not actually a tree, it is a grass, but in forests where it grows, it can outpace almost any plant in speed. Certain types of bamboo can grow almost a meter in a single day when conditions are right. Within weeks, shoots stretch upward. They form dense groves that tower like green skyscrapers. In Asia, bamboo forests are home to red pandas, golden monkeys, and the famous giant panda. Giant pandas feed almost entirely on bamboo shoots. Humans also rely heavily on bamboo. They use it for building, for food, and even for making textiles. Its fast growth makes it one of the most renewable resources on Earth. Walking through a bamboo forest feels unlike any other experience. The stalks rise straight and tall. They creak in the wind. They create a rhythmic, almost musical atmosphere. It reminds us of the sheer power of life's speed when everything is just right. Fact 50. Rainforest trees can flower directly on their trunks. In most forests, flowers grow from branches high above. But in rainforests, many trees use a different method. It is called cauliflory. They produce flowers and fruits directly from their trunks. This allows animals like monkeys, bats, and rodents to reach and pollinate them more easily. They do not need to climb into the canopy. Some of the rainforest's most famous plants use this method. Cacao trees, which give us chocolate, rely on it. The trunks become decorated with clusters of blossoms. Heavy fruits hang like ornaments on a living pillar. It is an adaptation perfectly suited to the dense vertical world of the forest. They shape their forms to fit the creatures around them. In the rainforest, even the tree trunks are alive with blossoms. It turns the forest floor into a garden as well. Fact 51. The Amazon's trees release more oxygen than all the world's grasslands. The Amazon rainforest is sometimes called the lungs of the earth. And while that phrase is a bit simplified, it holds truth in one important way. The trees of the Amazon release more oxygen into the atmosphere than all the world's grasslands combined. Each day, billions of leaves do photosynthesis. They split carbon dioxide and release oxygen as a byproduct. Grasslands are huge too, but their smaller plants simply cannot compare to the sheer scale of rainforest trees. Much of it gets used up again by plants, animals, and microbes in the forest itself. It reminds us how deeply our atmosphere is tied to the unseen daily work of trees. They breathe in carbon and breathe out life. Fact 52. Forests provide the majority of Earth's oxygen exchange. It is easy to think of oceans as Earth's great oxygen makers. And they are. But forests play an equally important role in the planet's oxygen exchange. Through photosynthesis, forests absorb huge amounts of carbon dioxide. They release oxygen into the atmosphere. At the same time, the countless organisms that live in forests consume oxygen and release carbon back. They have layer upon layer of leaves all working at once. While the oxygen produced gets balanced by consumption, forests act as stabilizers. They keep the cycle smooth and resilient. Without them, Earth's oxygen balance would struggle. The results would be unpredictable for every breathing creature. Each breath we take is supported not only by oceans and tiny ocean plants, but by forests with their endless green machinery converting sunlight into the air of life. Fact 53. Some trees store water in their trunks like living reservoirs. In certain forests, survival depends on being able to last through dry spells. Some trees have adapted by storing water right inside their trunks. These natural storage tanks can hold thousands of litres. That is enough to keep the tree alive through months of drought. Baobab trees in African forests are among the most famous examples. Their swollen trunks can hold so much water that animals and even humans cut into them for drinking water. In tropical rainforests, other species also practice water storage. They keep hidden reserves in their spongy wood. This adaptation helps keep entire ecosystems stable. It ensures that life can continue even when rains stop. To touch one of these trees is to touch a living well. It quietly holds water within its fibers. In a way, they are both plants and guardians of water. They embody resilience in landscapes where thirst can be a constant threat. Fact 54. Forests store more fresh water than all the world's lakes. When we picture fresh water, we think of lakes and rivers. But forests actually hold more than both combined. Much of this water is hidden underground. It is stored in soil and in aquifers that forests help replenish. Tree roots draw moisture upward. Canopies slow rainfall so it can seep gently into the ground instead of rushing away. In wetlands and peatlands, water gets locked away in mosses and soaked soils for centuries. These hidden stores add up to a reservoir larger than all the world's lakes put together. This means forests are not only homes for wildlife, they're also vital parts of the global water cycle. Every drop of rain that filters through leaves and roots becomes part of a system. It provides drinking water, irrigation, and stability for billions of people. Forests quietly are our greatest freshwater banks. Fact 55. Forests help shape the chemistry of the oceans. It may seem like forests and oceans are separate worlds, but they are connected through rivers. Nutrients washed from forest, soils flow into streams. These streams carry them to seas. This input feeds tiny ocean plants called plankton. Plankton blooms form the base of marine food chains. Forests also influence how much carbon dioxide dissolves in seawater. They do this through their role in absorbing or releasing carbon into the atmosphere. They affect cloud cover and rainfall patterns that control how salty the water is. In this sense, forests help set the stage for ocean chemistry. They balance nutrients, acidity, and carbon cycles. To imagine forests and oceans as opposites misses the truth. They are partners passing invisible messages back and forth. The health of the sea begins partly with the shade of trees and the soil of faraway forests. Fact 56. Trees in a forest can change the chemistry of rain. Rain falling through a forest canopy is not the same as rain that falls in an open field. As droplets brush against leaves and bark, they pick up chemicals released by the trees. These might include organic acids, sugars, or even compounds that fight microbes. When the rain reaches the ground, its chemistry has been changed. Sometimes it feeds soil organisms. Sometimes it stops harmful germs from growing. This process is called throughfall. It creates a unique water signature for each forest. Scientists studying rainfall under trees find that the nutrients in it can fertilize the forest floor. This helps baby trees grow. Some species even release compounds that discourage competitor plants from sprouting nearby. In this way, trees do not just passively receive rain. They change it. They flavor the water that falls upon their roots. Each shower becomes not just weather but part of the forest's own conversation with itself. Fact 57. Some forest rivers turn black from leaf chemicals. In parts of the Amazon and other tropical forests, rivers can appear very dark. They almost look like tea. This is not pollution. It is the result of tannins. Tannins are natural chemicals that leak out from fallen leaves and plant matter. As rainwater flows through soil rich in decaying plants, it absorbs these tannins. This stains the rivers brown or nearly black. These blackwater rivers are low in nutrients but high in clarity. They often support unique ecosystems adapted to their chemistry. Fish, insects, and plants living in them are different from those in nearby rivers with sediment. The contrast creates a pattern of aquatic habitats. Each has its own web of life. Floating quietly on a blackwater river feels eerie and calm. It is as though the forest has dissolved itself into the water. It paints the water in the colours of leaves long fallen. Fact 58. Forest leaves may hold traces of distant ocean spray. It seems impossible that the sea could reach a forest deep inland. But it does. Tiny salt particles lifted from crashing waves can drift for hundreds or even thousands of miles on winds. Eventually they settle on forest leaves. Sometimes they become part of the chemistry that trees absorb. Scientists analyzing leaf surfaces have found traces of ocean salt far from any coast. These particles may influence how leaves take in water. They may affect how they interact with sunlight. They can also serve as starting points for chemical reactions in the atmosphere above the forest. Every tree leaf may carry in microscopic form a reminder of waves that broke on distant shores. Fact 59. Leaves in a forest can change color without autumn. In temperate regions, we think of changing leaf colors as something that happens in autumn. But in tropical forests, leaves can shift colors at any time of year. Young leaves often turn red or orange when they first emerge. This acts as a natural sunscreen. It protects them from intense sunlight until they mature. Other species change color as a signal, perhaps to attract pollinators or warn insects away. In some forests, whole stretches of canopy can suddenly blaze with patches of red, yellow, or purple. This happens even when there is no seasonal shift. This constant turnover of colors is one reason tropical forests look so vibrant and varied. The shifting palette is not about winter or fall. It is about survival strategies woven into the leaves themselves. The forest at any moment is alive with quiet bursts of color. It is as if reminding us that change is not bound to seasons. Fact 60. Forests influence the migration of global bird populations. For countless bird species, forests are not just homes, they are stopping points on long journeys. Migratory birds use forest habitats as places to rest and feed during flights that can span continents. Whether a migration succeeds often depends on the availability of forest cover along these routes. Some forests provide fruit at just the right time of year. This fuels flights across oceans or deserts. Others offer shelter from predators and storms. Even birds that do not live in forests year-round often depend on them for these important stages of their journeys. The result is that forests help shape the very patterns of global migration. They guide flocks across hemispheres. When forests vanish, entire migratory routes can collapse. To hear the chorus of birds in spring is to hear not just local voices. They are travelers whose survival depends on forests far beyond our horizon. Fact 61. Forest elephants engineer the structure of African forests. In the Congo Basin, forest elephants play a role far larger than their size suggests. As they move through dense undergrowth, they trample pathways. These pathways open space for light to reach the forest floor. They feed on fruits and carry seeds in their stomachs. They deposit them miles away in rich piles of fertilizer. Some seeds can only sprout after passing through an elephant's digestive system. This makes the animals essential gardeners of the forest. Over time, elephants shape the very structure of the forest. They influence which trees dominate and how dense the canopy grows. Without them, some regions would grow choked with plants. Others might lose entire species of trees. Forest elephants are not just residents of the Congo. They are engineers sculpting their environment in ways that ripple through entire ecosystems. They prove that animals and trees are deeply connected in the building of forests. Fact 62. Some forests are maintained by bats and birds carrying seeds. Forests do not grow themselves alone. They rely on countless helpers. Bats, for instance, feed on fruits at night. Then they drop seeds across wide distances as they fly. Birds do the same by eating berries. They later scatter seeds in their droppings. These wing dispersers allow forests to expand far beyond the shadow of any one tree. In some regions, bats are responsible for more than 90% of new baby trees after disturbances like fires or logging. Birds, too, keep forests resilient. They ensure diversity spreads across landscapes. Without them, many forests would shrink and break apart. Every flutter of wings in the night sky or every bird call at dawn is part of a much larger cycle. It is one where forests and their flying companions create together the green expanses that define so much of Earth's life. Fact 63. Certain birds guide humans to honeycombs deep in forests. In parts of Africa, a remarkable partnership exists between people and birds known as greater honey guides. These small birds have evolved to lead humans directly to wild beehives hidden in dense forests. The bird calls to attract attention. Then it flies ahead. It pauses along the way to keep humans following. Eventually, it leads them to honeycombs they might never have found on their own. Once humans break open the hive and collect honey, the birds feast on the wax and larvae left behind. It is a cooperative relationship stretching back thousands of years. It is one of the few known examples where wild animals and humans communicate intentionally for mutual benefit. For forest-dwelling communities, the honey guide is both helper and companion. It is proof that the forest is a place not just of survival, but of surprising alliances that cross the boundaries between species. Fact 64. The Amazon contains more species than any other forest. No forest on Earth can match the Amazon in sheer diversity. Spanning over 5.5 million square kilometers, it is home to more than 16,000 tree species. It has countless animals, insects, and fungi. Scientists estimate that 1 in 10 known species on Earth lives there. Each layer of the forest adds another dimension. The canopy is alive with monkeys and birds. The understory holds jaguars and snakes. The rivers teem with fish and dolphins. Even after centuries of exploration, new species are discovered regularly. From brightly coloured frogs to entire groups of insects never seen before. This concentration of life is so great that a single square kilometre can contain more plant species than all of North America. The Amazon is not just a forest. It is Earth's grand archive of biodiversity. It is a living library still being read page by page. Fact 65. Some forests are so remote they remain almost completely unexplored. While satellites map nearly every corner of the globe, some forests are so huge, dense, and difficult to reach that humans have barely set foot in them. Parts of Papua New Guinea, deep stretches of the Congo Basin, and isolated valleys of the Amazon remain largely untouched. From insects to mammals. For local communities, they may be well known, but to the outside world, they are blank spaces on the map. The challenge of reaching them makes exploration daunting. Swamps, thick canopies, or sheer remoteness all act as barriers. These unexplored forests remind us that despite modern technology, Earth still holds pockets of mystery. In their depths, life continues on its own terms, unobserved, unmeasured, and unrecorded, just as it has for millions of years. Fact 66. Some forests grow on floating mats of vegetation. In river floodplains and wetlands, entire forests sometimes grow on mats of floating plants. These mats form when roots and soil weave together so tightly they create a surface that floats. Trees and shrubs then sprout on top. This turns the mat into a drifting island of forest. These are known as suds in Africa or floating meadows in South America. These ecosystems are constantly moving. They get carried by winds and currents. Animals adapt to them. Fish feed on roots dangling into the water. Birds nest in the dense greenery. For humans, they can be both obstacles and wonders. They block navigation but offer floating pastures. These forests blur the line between land and water. They exist in a state of constant drift. To walk on one feels like stepping on soft ground that sways beneath your feet. A forest afloat, alive and wandering. Fact 67. There are forests growing beneath the ocean surface. Forests are not limited to dry land. Under the sea, kelp forests stretch upward from the ocean floor. They are anchored by root-like structures called holdfasts. These towering algae can grow more than 100 feet tall. They form dense underwater canopies where light filters through like in a land forest. Fish weave among the fronds. Sea otters hunt for urchins. Seals dart through the green corridors. Like land forests, kelp forests create shade, shelter, and abundant food. This makes them among the most productive ecosystems on Earth. In places like California and Chile, they support fisheries. They protect coastlines by calming waves. Though not made of trees, their structure and role mirror land forests so closely that they are considered oceanic equivalents. They remind us that the concept of a forest extends beyond soil. It thrives even in the restless blue of the sea. Fact 68. Some forests rest on active volcano slopes. In countries like Indonesia, Japan, and Costa Rica, forests grow on the slopes of active volcanoes. They are fertile with volcanic soil but threatened by eruptions, ashfall, and lava flows. The minerals released by past eruptions create some of the richest soils in the world. This allows lush forests to flourish. Plants colonize new lava flows quickly. Animals follow, reclaiming the land even as danger remains beneath their feet. Every eruption sets the stage for rebirth. It cycles destruction into fertility. These forests are both fragile and fierce. They are forever rebuilding themselves at the edge of Earth's fire. Fact 69. The Black Forest inspired some of the world's darkest fairy tales. Germany's Black Forest is a place of towering pines, deep shadows, and mist that clings to valleys. Its atmosphere has long stirred human imagination. The Brothers Grimm drew inspiration from its dense woods when recording folk tales. Stories of witches, wolves, and children lost among trees. For centuries, the forest's gloom and isolation made it a backdrop for myths of danger and magic. Yet the same forest is also filled with vibrant wildlife and picturesque villages. This shows the contrast between human perception and ecological reality. What people saw as dark and forbidding was to the animals within it simply home. The Black Forest is a reminder that our relationship with forests is not only biological but cultural. They shape our imaginations as much as our ecosystems. They become theatres where fears and wonder take root side by side. Fact 70. Ancient forests have been preserved in stone for hundreds of millions of years. Long before humans walked the earth, forests flourished, and in some cases, they left behind fossilized remains. Petrified forests found in places like Arizona, Argentina, and Antarctica are made of trees turned to stone over hundreds of millions of years. Minerals replace the organic material. They preserve details down to the rings and bark textures. These stone forests reveal what Earth's ecosystems looked like in prehistoric eras. They include species that no longer exist. Some fossils are so well preserved that scientists can study microscopic structures inside. Walking among them feels like wandering through time. Trunks lie frozen in mid-growth, silent and unchanging. They are reminders that forests are ancient. They span epochs. Their roots reach not just into soil but into the deep history of life itself. Fact 71. Forests are expanding in some parts of the world. Although cutting down forests is a global concern, not all forests are shrinking. In parts of Europe, North America, and even China, forests are actually expanding. This regrowth often happens when farmland is abandoned or when large-scale tree planting projects take root. In Europe, farmland that is centuries old is slowly being reclaimed by trees. In China, massive planting campaigns have added billions of new baby trees to the landscape. These recovering forests may lack the complexity of ancient ones, but over time, they begin to attract wildlife. They restore soils and capture carbon. It is a hopeful reminder that ecosystems can recover if given the chance. They grow back into places where the sound of wind in branches has not been heard for generations. Fact 72. Some forests are growing where deserts once spread. Across parts of Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, forests are beginning to sprout where barren lands once stretched. This transformation is often the result of intentional restoration efforts. Humans plant trees to fight the spread of deserts. In places like northern China's Great Green Wall, millions of trees are being grown to stop the spread of the Gobi Desert. In the Sahel region of Africa, communities are planting native species that thrive in dry conditions. This helps restore soil and bring back shade and water. Nature also plays a role as shifts in rainfall and climate create opportunities for regrowth. These new forests may not yet rival ancient rainforests, but they are living proof that deserts are not always permanent. With time and care, even the driest places can bloom with forests once again. Fact 73. The world's rarest forests exist only on tiny islands. Scattered across the oceans are islands where forests grow nowhere else on Earth. The cloud forests of Hawaii, the dragon blood tree groves of Socotra, and the palm forests of the Seychelles all exist in fragile isolation. These rare habitats are often filled with species found nowhere else. They evolved in the isolation of their island homes. Because they are so limited in size, even small disturbances can have huge impacts. A single storm, invasive species, or human settlement can reshape them dramatically. Yet their uniqueness makes them biological treasures. They are living museums of evolution's creativity. To walk among them is to see life that exists in no other place. Forests, as rare and delicate as jewels, scattered across the vast ocean. Fact 74. The world's smallest forest can be just a few trees wide. Not all forests are huge expanses stretching across continents. In some places, a cluster of trees just a few dozen meters wide counts as a forest. These miniature forests can grow in valleys, along rivers, or on isolated hills. Despite their size, they often harbour surprising biodiversity. They treat them as vital refuges in otherwise open landscapes. Scientists studying them have found that even the tiniest forests can help store carbon, control water, and protect soils. For nearby communities, they may provide shade, food, or cultural meaning. These small forests remind us that size is not everything. Even a handful of trees growing together can carry the spirit and function of a forest. They prove that resilience and wonder exist at every scale. Fact 75. Some forests contain species found nowhere else. Isolation creates uniqueness. Forests separated by mountains, rivers, or oceans often harbour species that live in no other place on Earth. Madagascar's forests, for instance, contain lemurs and baobabs unlike anything elsewhere. Australia's eucalyptus forests hold marsupials and birds that evolved in isolation. Even small patches of forest can shelter rare plants or insects that never spread beyond their boundaries. Yet their existence highlights the creativity of evolution. It sculpts life to fit local conditions. Every forest is a stage for experiments millions of years in the making, many of which can only be seen in one corner of the planet. To step into such a forest is to enter a world unique to itself, with species that carry the story of place written in their very being. Fact 76. Forests can create their own weather forecasts. Forests are not passive when it comes to weather. They give clues about what is to come. Scientists studying forests have found that patterns in leaf chemistry, humidity levels, and even insect activity can signal changes in rainfall and temperature before they arrive. Indigenous communities around the world have long read these signs. They know which bird calls or tree blooms mean storms are near. In a sense, forests forecast their own weather by responding to subtle shifts in the atmosphere. As trees release water vapor and chemicals, they influence cloud formation above. This creates feedback loops that shape local weather. To walk through a forest is to enter a natural barometer. Every sound, smell, and shimmer of leaves holds hints of tomorrow's skies. The forest reads the air in ways we are only beginning to understand. It senses pressure changes and temperature shifts long before our instruments detect them. Ancient peoples learned to trust these signals. They watched when certain flowers opened or when particular animals became active. Modern science is now confirming what traditional knowledge always held. That forests are not just shaped by weather, but are active participants in predicting and creating it. Fact 77. Forests at night can be louder than cities. When the sun sets, many forests do not fall silent. They come alive with sound. Frogs croak in rhythmic waves. Insects hum in layers of different pitches. Owls call out to mark their territories. Mammals rustle through the underbrush, searching for food. In tropical forests especially, the combined chorus of nocturnal creatures can actually be louder than busy urban streets. From low rumbles to high-pitched chirps, each occupies its own frequency like instruments in an orchestra. This nighttime chorus is not random noise. It is communication, competition, and survival playing out in sound. its voice simply shifts. It moves from the bright chatter of daytime birds to the deep pulsing music of night. The volume can be so intense that it vibrates through your body. You feel it as much as hear it. This is life asserting itself in the darkness. Claiming space through sound. Fact 78. The soundscapes of forests change dramatically from dawn to night. From the first light of dawn to the stillness of midnight, forests move through sound cycles as rich as any symphony. Morning often begins with birdsong, as countless species greet the Sunday. Each type of bird has its own time to sing. Some start before dawn, others wait until full light. Insects take over as the day warms. Their buzzing fills the air in waves. Afternoon rains may bring a drumbeat of water on leaves. This is followed by the return of bird calls as storms pass. At dusk, frogs begin their chorus. They are soon joined by nocturnal mammals and insects. Each layer of life occupies its own time, its own rhythm. This weaves a continuous soundtrack through the day and night. Scientists studying these cycles find that forest soundscapes are not random, they are carefully partitioned. Each species adapts its timing to be heard without being drowned out by others. To listen across a full day is to hear the heartbeat of the forest. It is measured not in silence, but in waves of sound that never truly stop. They just change form and shift from one community of voices to another. Fact 79. Forests sing with constant insect choruses. In many forests, insects are the true musicians. Cicadas, crickets, and countless other species produce constant choruses. They create a background hum that rises and falls like breathing. Some cicada species emerge in synchronized waves. They fill entire landscapes with deafening song that can be heard miles away. The sound is so loud it can make conversation difficult. Others sing nightly. Their rhythms overlap in complex patterns that scientists compare to music. These insect choruses serve important purposes. They attract mates. They mark territory. They confuse predators with sheer volume. For humans, they become the defining sound of warm nights in the woods. While birds and mammals may come and go, insects keep the soundtrack steady. They provide a ceaseless pulse that marks the life of the forest in vibration and hum. Without them, the forest would feel strangely empty. The insects create a sonic blanket that makes the forest feel alive, even when you cannot see the creatures making the sounds. Fact 80. Some forests hold secrets of life's earliest evolution. Certain ancient forests preserve traces of Earth's evolutionary history. In Canada's Mistaken Point and other fossil-rich sites, imprints of primitive organisms appear in what were once forested or vegetated regions. Even today, untouched forests hold genetic lineages that stretch back hundreds of millions of years. They still grow in tropical forests much as they did when dinosaurs roamed. These remnants link modern ecosystems to prehistoric ones. They bridge the vast gulf of time. In their leaves, spores, and seeds are clues to how life diversified, adapted, and endured through massive changes. They hold secrets that science is only beginning to unlock. It carries information about climates, catastrophes, and evolutionary pressures from eras we can barely imagine. By studying these living relics, scientists piece together the story of how life on Earth came to be so diverse and resilient. Fact 81. The roots of some forests stretch for miles underground. Beneath a forest lies a hidden world as vast as the canopy above. Tree roots interlace with one another. They create sprawling networks that can stretch for miles. In places like mangrove forests, roots extend into rivers and seas. They stabilize the shoreline while reaching far underground to find nutrients. In temperate forests, roots often connect trees together. This allows them to share water and minerals. This underground web is strengthened by fungi. Together, they form what scientists call the wood-wide web. Through it, trees can send sugars, chemical signals, or even warnings of danger. It means a forest is not a collection of separate individuals. It is a community connected by living threads underground. Though unseen, these roots are as vital as trunks or leaves. They bind the forest together into one great organism. It grows, communicates, and survives in unity. The roots also prevent erosion. They hold soil in place even during floods and storms. They create channels for water to flow deep into the earth where it can be stored and filtered naturally. Fact 82. Some forest trees produce their own insect repellent. Forests are full of battles we barely notice. Many trees produce natural chemicals to stop insects from eating their leaves. Eucalyptus trees, for example, release aromatic oils. These oils repel pests and even stop competing plants from growing nearby. Pines ooze sticky resin that traps insects. It also releases sharp scents that warn others to stay away. Some species adjust their defenses depending on the season or the scale of attack. If many insects start feeding, the tree ramps up production of bitter or toxic compounds. These natural repellents are so effective that humans often borrow them. Many essential oils and herbal remedies originate from forest trees. This quiet chemical warfare ensures that forests can endure despite the billions of hungry insects living among them. Every breeze that carries the scent of pine or eucalyptus is not just fragrance. It is a shield, a living defense system built into the very fabric of the forest. The trees are constantly producing these compounds. They invest energy into chemistry as much as growth. This balance between defense and expansion is one reason forests are so resilient. Fact 83. Some trees defend each other from predators. Trees are not silent victims when grazed by animals. Studies in African savannas have shown something remarkable. When giraffes start feeding on acacia leaves, the trees release chemicals into the air. These chemicals drift downwind. Nearby, acacias detect these signals. They quickly increase the bitter tannins in their leaves. This makes them unappetizing to the giraffes. In this way, entire groves coordinate their defenses. They protect one another from overgrazing. It is a reminder that trees are not passive fixtures. They are active participants in their environment. They are capable of rapid responses to threats. This cooperation gives forests resilience. It ensures that predators, like insects or herbivores, cannot simply consume them unchecked. The forest behaves like a single organism. It responds collectively to maintain balance and survival. This kind of communication happens constantly. We just cannot see or hear it. The air is full of chemical messages passing between trees. They create an invisible network of warnings and responses that keeps the ecosystem functioning. Fact 84. Trees in a forest can heal each other. In some forests, trees seem to care for their neighbours. When a tree is damaged, nearby individuals sometimes send sugars and nutrients through underground root and fungal networks to sustain it. Even stumps with no leaves and no ability to do photosynthesis have been found alive for centuries. They are kept nourished by surrounding trees. Scientists suggest this sharing helps maintain forest stability. It preserves root systems, it stabilizes soil, it prevents gaps in the canopy. It suggests that forests prioritize collective health over individual survival. A forest is not just a set of separate trees. It is a living community where survival is shared, where one tree's strength can become another's lifeline. This mutual support extends beyond just nutrients. Trees also share water during droughts. They create more favorable conditions for each other by moderating temperature and humidity through their combined canopy. The whole truly is greater than the sum of its parts. Fact 85. Forests have been called the planet's lungs, but they do much more. Forests are often described as Earth's lungs because they absorb carbon dioxide and release oxygen. Yet their role is far greater than that. Forests regulate rainfall across continents. They stabilize soils and prevent erosion. They cool the air through evaporation. They support biodiversity on a staggering scale. They influence weather patterns that stretch across entire hemispheres. They shape the global carbon cycle that determines climate. They provide food, medicine, and shelter for countless species, including humans. To call them lungs captures only one function, when in reality they are more like the heart, brain, and circulatory system combined. They keep the planet alive in ways far beyond breathing. They serve as regulators of Earth's climate and stewards of life's diversity. It influences the world far beyond its boundaries. Without forests, Earth would be unrecognizable. The climate would be unstable. Rainfall patterns would collapse. Countless species would vanish. Even the air itself would change in composition. Fact 86. Some trees can record centuries of climate change in their rings. Each year, a tree adds a new ring of growth. In dry years, the ring is narrow. In wet years, it grows wide. Over centuries, these rings create a precise record of climate history. By studying them, scientists can reconstruct rainfall patterns. They can track temperature changes. They can even identify volcanic events that occurred long before human records began. Some ancient trees hold more than 1,000 years of climate data inside their trunks. This science is called dendrochronology. It allows us to understand how forests and the planet have responded to past changes. Trees are not only witnesses to time, they are archivists, storing memory in wood. Every trunk is a living timeline. It carries within it the secrets of Earth's shifting climate across generations. The rings also reveal droughts, floods, fires, and infestations. Each leaves its signature in the wood. Scientists can read these signatures like pages in a book. They learn about civilizations that rose and fell, about natural disasters that reshaped landscapes, about slow, gradual warming or sudden cooling events that altered the course of history. Fact 87. Forests influence Earth's climate more than we realize. The role of forests in the global climate extends far beyond carbon storage. They release water vapor which rises and helps form clouds. Clouds cool the planet by reflecting sunlight back to space. Dark canopies absorb heat, while lighter forests reflect it. The chemicals trees emit help seed clouds. This influences rainfall thousands of miles away. The Amazon, for example, helps maintain weather patterns as far as North America. Cutting down forests not only releases stored carbon, it disrupts these climate systems in ways we are still discovering. Forests are not passengers in Earth's climate journey. They are drivers constantly shaping the balance of temperature, water, and atmosphere. Their influence stretches across continents. It is a quiet force holding the rhythms of the planet together. When forests disappear, the effects ripple outward. Distant regions may experience droughts, storm patterns may shift, temperature extremes may become more common. The loss of a single forest can trigger changes felt halfway around the world. Fact 88. Forests may be cooling the planet more than we thought. Recent studies suggest forests play an even greater role in cooling Earth than once believed. Beyond absorbing carbon, their release of water vapor creates a natural air conditioning effect. This process, called evapotranspiration, can lower regional temperatures by several degrees. Forests also increase cloud cover, which reflects sunlight and helps prevent overheating. Together, these processes may offset more warming than scientists previously estimated. In a warming world, forests are not only victims of climate change, they are vital allies against it. Each tree contributes to a global cooling system, one that works invisibly, yet powerfully. The shade we feel under a tree is just a tiny glimpse of the planetary scale cooling forests provide every day. They become not just nice places to visit, but essential infrastructure for planetary survival. Yet forests alone cannot solve the problem. They need support from reductions in emissions and other changes to how humans live on Earth. Fact 89. Every forest is both ancient and new at the same time. Forests are paradoxes of time. Some trees may be hundreds or even thousands of years old. Meanwhile, baby trees spring up fresh each season. Soil beneath holds remnants of forests that existed millions of years ago. New in its shoots, when we walk among trees, we are moving through a continuum of time. Generations overlap, life cycles blend into one another. A forest is not frozen in history, it is always in motion, holding the past while growing the future. This dual nature makes forests places where time itself feels layered, both eternal and fleeting at once. You might touch a tree that was alive when your great-great-grandparents were children, while at your feet, a seedling just days old reaches for light. Past, present, and future exist together in the same space. This is what makes forests so profound. They connect us to timescales we cannot personally experience but can witness through their presence. Fact 90. Forests still hide mysteries we have yet to discover. Despite centuries of study, forests remain full of secrets. New species of plants, insects, and fungi are discovered each year. Many hide in plain sight. The way trees communicate is still being explored. The role of fungi in shaping ecosystems is only partly understood. The full impact of forests on climate is still being measured and debated. Even the sheer number of species living in the Amazon or Congo is unknown. In many ways, forests are frontiers as mysterious as deep oceans or outer space. They hold questions about life, evolution, and survival that science is only beginning to answer. Every step beneath their canopies is a step into the unknown. It reminds us that even in familiar landscapes, mystery thrives. We think we know forests because we can walk through them, but the more we study them, the more we realize how little we understand. The complexity of interactions between species is staggering. The chemical conversations happening constantly are only now being decoded. There may be entire processes and relationships we have not even imagined yet. Fact 91. Some trees bleed red sap. In parts of Africa, South America, and Asia, certain trees release sap so vividly red it looks like blood. The most famous is the dragon blood tree found on the island of Socotra. Its crimson resin has been used for medicine, dye, and ritual for thousands of years. When its bark is cut, a thick red liquid flows like a wound. This gives the tree a mythic presence. Other species, such as some eucalyptus, also produce red-tinged sap. To ancient peoples, these trees seemed alive in a deeper way, as though their lifeblood was visible to the world. Today, scientists study the compounds in these resins. They are discovering antibacterial and protective properties. What looks strange or eerie is actually a tree's way of sealing injuries and defending itself. It is a reminder that even in silence, forests bleed, heal, and endure. This prevents infection and stops further damage. Humans have harvested this resin for centuries. It has been used in medicine, varnish, incense, and even as a preservative. Fact 92. Some rainforest trees are taller than the Statue of Liberty. Deep in the Amazon, towering rainforest trees have been measured at over 80 meters tall. This makes them taller than the Statue of Liberty. These giants are often species like the Dinitzia excelsa. They rise above the canopy where only a handful of trees reach such heights. Growing in relative isolation, they capture sunlight above the rest. They serve as towering landmarks in a sea of green. Scientists believe they play a special role in shaping forest ecosystems. They host entire communities of birds, insects, and plants that grow on their branches. Their size also allows them to store massive amounts of carbon. This anchors the forest's role in regulating climate. To stand beneath one is to feel the same awe as gazing at a skyscraper. Except this one is alive. It is ancient. It is rooted in the soil of the earth itself. These trees can be hundreds of years old. They have weathered countless storms. They have provided homes for generations of animals. Their fall, whether from age or human action, creates a gap in the canopy that takes decades to fill. When they do fall, they bring down other trees with them. This creates clearings where light floods in and new growth explodes. Fact 93. The largest known tree by volume weighs more than a fleet of blue whales. In California's Sierra Nevada stands the General Sherman tree. It is a giant sequoia that holds the title of the largest known tree by volume. Its trunk alone contains over 1,000 cubic meters of wood. It is so massive that it outweighs dozens of blue whales combined. Yet despite its incredible size, the General Sherman is not the tallest tree. It is not the oldest either. This shows that different records belong to different forest giants. Its immense volume is the result of thousands of years of steady growth, layer upon layer building into a monument of living tissue. Standing before it, humans appear like insects at the base of a mountain. This single tree is a forest unto itself. It hosts mosses, birds, and insects, all dependent on the vast body of one living being that has stood for over 2 millennia. The bark alone is thick enough to protect it from most fires. The tree has survived countless droughts, storms, and challenges. It continues to add new wood each year. Scientists estimate it adds the equivalent of a medium-sized tree's worth of wood annually, even at its great age. Fact 94. Bamboo can grow nearly a meter in a day. Among the fastest-growing plants on Earth, bamboo is a marvel of speed and resilience. Some species can shoot upward almost a meter in a single day. This pace is visible with the naked eye if observed closely. This rapid growth allows bamboo forests to bounce back quickly after harvest or disturbance. This makes them vital renewable resources in many parts of Asia and beyond. Bamboo's hollow, flexible structure gives it strength and springiness, qualities humans have used for millennia in building, weaving, and even creating paper. This includes the iconic giant panda, which depends almost entirely on bamboo for food. Its explosive growth also stabilizes soil and reduces erosion. Bamboo's speed is not just a curiosity, it is a survival strategy. It allows the plant to compete for sunlight and space in dense, competitive ecosystems. The sound of a bamboo forest is distinctive. The hollow stems knock together in the wind, creating a musical rattling. Walking through one feels like being inside a living instrument. The light filtering through the dense stems creates patterns of shadow and brightness that shift with every breeze. Fact 95. Forests can change entire landscapes over millennia. Forests are not passive backdrops. Over time, they reshape the very land they grow on. Roots crack rocks, slowly grinding them into soil. Fallen leaves accumulate into thick layers of fertile ground. This feeds generations of new growth. Forests capture rainfall and guide rivers, sometimes redirecting their flow entirely. In some regions, like the Amazon basin, forests recycle their own water. Over thousands of years, forests have transformed barren volcanic slopes into lush ecosystems. They have carved fertile plains from once stony ground. These transformations happen so slowly they are invisible to human eyes, yet they mark one of nature's most powerful forces: life itself shaping the planet. The interaction between forest and land is constant. Trees pull nutrients from deep underground. They bring them to the surface when leaves fall. They create complex soil structures. They provide habitat for burrowing animals. These animals further mix and aerate the soil. The result is that forested land is fundamentally different from bare land. It has deeper, richer soil. It holds water better. It resists erosion. Even after a forest is cleared, the soil retains its forest character for decades or centuries. Fact 96. The Amazon River was once a swampy forest. Before it became the massive river system we know today, the Amazon basin was largely a swampy inland forest. Around 10 million years ago, tectonic shifts and rising mountains blocked water from flowing eastward. This created vast wetlands filled with trees and wildlife. Fossil evidence suggests this swampy forest supported crocodiles the size of buses. Giant turtles lived alongside dense vegetation. Over millions of years, as the Andes continued to rise, the waters broke through. They carved the path of the modern Amazon River. Yet even now, the forest retains memory of its swampy past in its floodplains and seasonal wetlands. The Amazon is not just a river with a forest around it. It is the product of forests and water shaping one another across deep time. The seasonal flooding that occurs today is an echo of that ancient swampy environment. Many species are adapted to these cycles. Fish swim through flooded forests, birds nest in trees standing in water. The line between river and forest blurs for months each year. Fact 97. Some forests are shaped by seasonal floods. In places like the Amazon and parts of Southeast Asia, forests flood regularly. Water levels sometimes rise by several meters for months at a time. Instead of drowning, the trees adapt. Some species grow hollow stems. These allow them to breathe even underwater. Others develop roots designed to withstand long submersion. These flooded forests become seasonal havens for fish and aquatic animals. The landscape turns into a shifting blend of river and woodland. When waters recede, nutrients are left behind. These fuel bursts of growth. To live here is to accept constant change, a rhythm of flood and drought. Where the forest itself becomes amphibious, these ecosystems reveal how flexible life can be. They thrive in cycles that might seem impossible to endure. It connects isolated pools and streams into one continuous aquatic system. Animals time their breeding to these cycles. Fish spawn in the flooded forest. Birds arrive to feast on the abundance. When the waters drop, plants explode into growth, taking advantage of the rich deposits left behind. Fact 98. Forests once covered nearly the entire Earth. Hundreds of millions of years ago, before deserts spread widely and before ice caps formed, forests blanketed almost all of Earth's land surface. Vast swamps of giant ferns and trees dominated the Carboniferous period. These created the coal deposits we mine today. Later, coniferous forests stretched across ancient supercontinents, unbroken for thousands of miles. These global forests played a central role in shaping the planet's atmosphere. They produced oxygen levels much higher than today. This fueled the rise of giant insects and amphibians. Over time, climate shifts and continental drift fractured these expanses. This created the patchwork of ecosystems we know now. But the memory remains. Once Earth was almost entirely forest, a green world where trees were the rulers of the land. Imagine a planet with almost no deserts, no grasslands, just forest stretching from coast to coast. The skies would have been different. The air thicker. The sounds unlike anything we know. Those ancient forests laid the foundation for life as it exists today. The oxygen they produced allowed animals to grow large and complex. The coal they became powers our civilization. We are connected to those prehistoric forests in ways we rarely consider. Fact 99. Forests will outlast most human structures. Cities, monuments, and highways often feel permanent, yet forests quietly remind us of time's true scale. Abandoned buildings are quickly reclaimed by trees. Their roots break through concrete. Vines weave through windows. Branches shade collapsed walls. Even great structures from temples to fortresses eventually crumble under the steady patience of growth. Forests move slowly, but their persistence is unmatched. They have outlasted civilizations before. They will likely outlast many of today's creations. Human structures measure permanence in centuries. Forests measure it in millennia. When left alone, they return. They cover scars. They erase the traces of human presence. In the long story of Earth, forests endure not as monuments of stone but as living, ever-renewing worlds. You can see this process in action in places like Angkor Wat, where massive trees have wrapped around stone temples, or in abandoned cities where forest has swallowed streets and buildings. Then it reclaims what was always its domain. This is not destruction. It is transformation. It is the reassertion of life's fundamental patterns. Fact 100. Forests remind us that life is both fragile and fierce. Forests can burn, wither, or vanish in a single generation. Their fragility is revealed in every hillside stripped of trees, yet they can also survive ice ages, storms, and the rise and fall of empires. Their resilience stretches across millions of years. This duality makes forests symbols of both vulnerability and strength. A single seedling can be crushed underfoot. Yet, Given time, it can grow into a towering giant. Entire forests can be leveled by humans or natural disaster, and yet decades later they may return green and humming with life once more. To walk among trees is to feel this paradox, that life is delicate yet also indomitable. Forests embody this truth. Fragile in the moment, fierce in the long sweep of time. Every forest that regrows after fire, every tree that sprouts from a crack in pavement. Closing outro. As we come to the end of our long journey through the forests of Earth, I hope you felt the calm of walking beneath their canopies, even if only in your imagination. From the tallest redwoods reaching skyward to the hidden fungal webs beneath our feet. From the stories of resilience carried in every ring of every tree to the songs that fill the night air. Forests remind us how vast, intricate, and enduring life can be. They are at once fragile and fierce, ancient and new, mysterious and familiar. And while we may think of them as distant or wild, the truth is, forests are never far. Every breath of air we take, every sip of water we drink, every heartbeat that sustains us owes something to them. The forests hold within them millions of years of evolutionary wisdom. They have witnessed the coming and going of countless species. They have adapted to ice ages and warming periods. They have survived asteroid impacts and volcanic eruptions. Through it all they have persisted. Changing, yes, but never disappearing entirely. They are the lungs, the heart, and the memory of Earth all at once. We are part of this story too. Humans evolved in forests. We learned to walk upright in their shelter. We discovered fire and tools and language while living among trees. Our bodies still respond to forest air and forest sounds in ways that calm and heal us. We are not separate from forests. We are products of them, children of the trees in a very real sense. If you have enjoyed this journey, I would be so grateful if you considered liking and subscribing to this channel, or perhaps leaving a gentle thought down in the comments. Each gesture helps others find their way here too. One sleepy soul at a time. It lets this community grow. It allows more people to discover these quiet moments of learning and rest. But for now, there is nothing more you need to do. Just let your breathing soften and slow. Let your body feel heavier against the bed or chair or wherever you are resting. Feel gravity gently pulling you down, supporting you completely. Let the quiet presence of forests linger in your mind, like a canopy of green that shelters you from the worries of the day, from the demands of tomorrow. Imagine yourself lying on soft moss in a forest clearing. The last light of day filters through the leaves above. It is golden and gentle. You can hear birds settling into their roosts, their songs growing quieter. The air smells of earth and growing things, cool and clean. You are safe here, protected by the ancient presence of trees all around. They have stood for so long. They will stand long after. In their company you can let go. You can rest. Sleep comes easily when we stop fighting it, when we release our grip on wakefulness and simply allow ourselves to drift. There is no effort required, just surrender to the natural rhythm of rest. Your body knows how to do this. It has done it every night of your life. Trust it now. Let your thoughts become like clouds passing through the sky. They come and they go. You do not need to hold on to them. You do not need to solve anything or remember anything. Just watch them drift by, soft and distant, fading into the twilight of your mind. Tomorrow will wait for you. It will be there when you wake, but tonight belongs to stillness. Tonight belongs to rest. Tonight you are held by something larger than yourself. The ancient rhythm of forests, the slow breathing of the earth, the patient turning of seasons and years. So, drift gently now into sleep. Let the weight of these 100 facts settle over you like a soft blanket. Let the images of towering trees and hidden roots and glowing mushrooms fill your dreams. Let the sounds of the forest lull you deeper. Into rest. Into peace. into the healing darkness that restores us. When you wake, the forests will still be there. And if you cannot sleep just yet, there will be another video waiting for you, another journey to take together. But for now, close your eyes, breathe slowly, and let yourself go. The forest holds you. The night holds you. Sleep holds you in its gentle arms. Good night.